The Lost Continent and Library, a calm mystery sleep story. As the twilight weaves its silken threads and the remnants of daylight dissolve into hush, cocoon yourself in your sanctuary of ease, possibly enveloped in cozy fabrics with the subtle whisper of calm enveloping you. Permit your respiration to mellow. Draw in gradually via your nose, imbibing quietude. Release via your mouth, shedding the day's encumbrances. This dusk, we launch a placid pilgrimage into the shrouds of riddle, where the echoes of lost worlds summon us. This is no chronicle of hurry or excitement, but a leisurely waft through vapors of marvel, fashioned to steer your reflections into soothing dormancy. No interruptions, no rush, simply the delicate tempo of currents ushering you onward into tranquility. Draw breath and release, as the account discloses itself, similar to the progressive unveiling of an age-old manuscript. Should you wish, the boundless scope of the Indian Ocean, it swells a palette mirroring the sun's waning gleam. Profound in those Pacific abysses dwells Lemuria, a landmass effaced from recollection, yet vibrant in the traces of archaic sagas. Our quest initiates with the sage who disclosed its puzzles, Helena Blavatsky, the enigmatic Russian mystic of the 19th century. Via her tomes, such as The Secret Doctrine, she relays narratives derived from esoteric manuscripts in Tibet and occult insights. Blavatsky illustrated Lemuria not as sheer fable, but as a faint resonance from yore. Envision her in her chamber, ringed by tomes beneath candle flicker, her timbre even as she delineates an expansive terrain that once linked continents and nurtured sagacity. Perceive the mild caress of that equatorial zephyr upon your visage. Draw in, release, allowing the vista to repose mildly in your awareness. Lemuria, as Blavatsky portrays it, was no typical domain. It surfaced from the marine's nurture, a genesis of evolution graced by ethereal entities. Narratives murmur of how the continent materialized as an idol of verdant plateaus and lofty crags, extending from Madagascar to Australia, a nursery of existence brimming with accord. At its nucleus resided majestic sanctuaries with spires of crystal, embellished with symbols that sparkled like moonlight on ripples. The territory sprawled over vistas broader than Africa, myths maintain. Its highlands flourished perennially, opulent and lush, sustained by streams that wandered like filaments of azure. Conduits, prodigies of craft, directed fluids from upland fountains that effervesced from the terrain, assuring plentitude even in serene periods. Artisans shaped prodigies in studios resonant with the mild whir of spindles and mallets, vessels adorned in terracotta hues, adornments interlaced from pearl fibers, and rafts with forms arcing like swells. These conveyances roamed distant, trading with remote littorals, yielding silks from eastern weaves, gems from island crevices, and dyes from antipodial flora. Souks purred gently at meridian under shelters of plaited fronds, where dealers bargled with motions and beams, their inflections a pacifying meter. Juveniles cavorted in foliated dells, imbibing the wisdom of astral roots from sages who delineated the nocturnal with elemental instruments. Perceive the sun's tender glow on these eternal borders, the jeer evaporating into crepusculus. Draw in the calm, release, forsaking any errant ponderings. Nonetheless, Lemuria surpassed its material magnificence. It vibrated with cognizance that appeared otherworldly. The Lemurians dominated fields obscured in our age, exploiting the vitality of etheric grids, perhaps, to vitalize their shrines sans blaze, or funneling astral vibrations for rejuvenation. Analysts conjecture if they comprehended telepathy, with recitals of mental communes traversing silently over the expanses. Their curative practices fused flora and quintessences, potions of aloe for endurance, unguents from singular petals to mollify the anima. Astrology was venerated. Lookouts on elevations pursued asteroids and equinoxes, predicting epochs with extraordinary accuracy. oracles, keepers of this erudition, engraved it on parchment scrolls, preserved in grottos far beneath the ziggurats. These deposits might have encompassed panaceas for afflictions, diagrams of domains uncharted, or tenets on the psyche's journey. As gloaming alights in your fancy, imagine those oracles surveying upward, the sky a mosaic of jewels. Draw in, release, your lids burdening further.
But permit us to glide onward into the fables encircling Lemuria. Blavatsky's depiction is just one filament in a weave interwoven amongst societies. In Tamil epics, intoned by bards beneath temple eaves, Lemuria reverberates as Kumari Kandam, an admonition carved in verses. The Celts referenced it as Avalon, a nebulous atoll manifesting every epic off Britain's shores, cloaked in broom and enchantment. African oral traditions narrate of an eastern expanse engulfed by tides, its denizens diffusing like pollen on breezes. In Buddhist codices, the obscured realm of Agartha resembles Lemuria, a concealed sovereignty now cloistered in caverns, revealed in trances with towers and artifacts. Even the Aztecs chiseled chronicles of an inundation apocalypse, effacing erudite communities in a moment. These anecdotes amalgamate like affluents to the brine, intimating a communal reminiscence of immense forfeiture. Respire unhurriedly. Allow these reflections to resound. Draw in, release, as the demarcations betwixt lore and annals mellow tenderly. Pundits over eras have mused on Lemuria's authenticity, their deliberations a tranquil substratum in the torrent of epics. Detractors, akin to contemporary anthropologists, regarded it as simile, an allegory on transmutation and renaissance. Yet Edwardian scholars like Philip Sclater perceived it as impetus for evolutionary theses in disquisitions like The Mammals of Madagascar. In the early 20th century, occult societies fueled current captivation, associating it with fossil anomalies and continental drift. He suggested phylogenetic connections, species like lemurs in Madagascar, or Indian denoting heritage, as vestiges of its appellation. Currently, paleontologists investigate prospects. The Gondwana breakup, circa 100 million BCE, a geological schism that might have fragmented terrains. Its vestiges in underwater ridges near Seychelles, with stepped formations implying fabricated havens. Or the Kerguelen Plateau in the south, a submerged mass conforming to chronologies. Celestial captures unveil peculiarities in the Maldives atolls, reef rings conceivably atop primordial bases. No irrefutable validation, merely mild intimations. Perceive the puzzle's clasp, draw in, release, your cogitations roaming unconfined. Now, let us evoke a day in a Lemurian's being, to pull this legend proximate, akin to a fantasy partly evoked. Daybreak illumines the mesas, the radiance coloring the vapors in tints of saffron and lavender. A weaver stirs, his dwelling a simple pavilion of reed surveying the waterways. He relishes botanical brew from terracotta chalices, lavender and lemongrass, infused to tranquilize the entity, ere commencing his loom, threads shimmering in the morn. Weaving through the ledges, he crosses spans like tendrils, overseen by engravings of ethereal sentinels with gazes of topaz. By midday, he crafts fabrics from silken fibers, yielding cloths that drape like cascades. Noon repast is shared amid kin under an arbor of tendrils. Pulses ground anew, berries from ridge groves, and elixir matured from flora graced by mist.
Vespertine yields diversion, rambles in arbors where rills susurrate tales, or immersions in basins fed by volcanic sources, fluids assuaging fatigue. As twilight befalls, clans convene for narrations by glowworms, legends of progenitors and cosmos transmitted vocally, uniting lineages. Obscurity descends with luminaries twinkling faintly, the hamlets a stellar configuration on Terra. Conceive this tempo, the vesper's termination reflecting vine. Draw in placidity, release, orbs descending. Yet every utopia conceals umbras, and Lemuria's narrative inclines toward dimness. Blavatsky alerts of degeneration infiltrating, like vines through loam. The hallowed descent of ethereal beings attenuated through terrestrial ties, engendering covetousness amongst the adepts. They mustered legions, colossal cohorts in adorned vestments, creatures ambling broad pastures, armadas tallying in legions. Dominions summoned, incursions into Africa and Asia, colliding with archaic clans in skirmishes of behemoths. The antecedents, principled and unwavering, withstood, but supernal reprisal succeeded. The celestials, vexed by presumption, invoked the forces. In one solitary morn and eve, tremors cleaved the soil, billows ascended like primordial apparitions. The landmass subsided not in ire, but in a methodical, relentless tug to the chasm. Surges enfolded spires and abodes, quelling the reverberations perpetually. Vestiges, if extant, disseminated, perchance instigating Australia's dream times or Africa's griot songs. Contemplate this mildly, a prompt toward symmetry. Draw in, release, expunging any nuclear pressures. In present epochs, Lemuria ignites ceaseless explorations, a signal for idealists and oceanographers alike. Voyagers like Amelia Earhart soared horizons, their aircraft gliding over Pacific voids. Geophysical charting exposes aberrations, sunken plateaus in the Indians' Mozambique Channel, termed the Lemurian Shelf, corresponding Blavatsky's contours with uncanny fidelity. Conjectures abound. Was it in Dravidia, obscured beneath surges after glacial thaw, or Sri Lanka's isles, with Sigiriya as a lingering vestige? Esoterics, like Rudolf Steiner, prophesied its revival, phantasms of vibrational harmonies energizing obscured apparatuses. Silver screen and prose maintain the fascination. H.P. Lovecraft's horrors plunging to its relics, series vivifying its boulevards. Yet, in this muted interval, we quest not clarifications, but consolation in the unacquainted. Allow the undulations of hypothesis to bathe you. Draw in, release, your conceptions vanishing like vapor. And now, as the deep ocean currents of Lemuria's memory gently recede, let them carry you across time and space to another realm of lost knowledge, a different echo from the past. Feel your awareness drifting, not downwards into the abyss, but backwards along the river of time, to a place of sun-baked stone and papyrus, of cedar oil and incense. We arrive on the shores of the Mediterranean under a different, warmer dusk, the dusk of ancient Alexandria. Breathe in the dry, parchment-scented air, and breathe out the salt of the ocean. Allow yourself to settle into this new, yet equally timeless mystery. Here, in the 3rd century before the Common Era, under the Ptolemaic kings, stood a wonder not of sunken land, but of accumulated light, the Great Library of Alexandria. Envision it not as a single, solemn building, but as a sprawling sanctuary of learning, part of the larger Museion, a temple to the Muses. Picture its white colonnades gleaming under the relentless Egyptian sun, shaded by courtyards where date palms whispered. Within, a labyrinth of scroll-lined shelves, a universe of words housed in clay jars and cedar cases. The air here is still, heavy with the dust of knowledge and the faint, sweet smell of papyrus and glue. Walk these silent halls in your mind. Your footsteps echo on polished marble. Breathe in the quiet and breathe out, letting the weight of centuries settle softly upon you. This was Lemuria's antithesis and cousin. Where Lemuria was primal, intuitive, and etheric, Alexandria was curated, analytical, and scholarly. It was an attempt to gather all the world's known wisdom into one sacred repository. Its founder, Demetrius of Phaleron, dreamed of a complete collection of human thought. Envision the scholars, the philologoi, moving through the shafts of light from high windows, their hands careful, their minds vast. They are not Lemurian adepts reading celestial vibrations, but grammarians comparing Homeric texts, astronomers calculating the Earth's circumference, physicians dissecting and theorizing. The energy here is of intense, quiet concentration, a different kind of harmony. Feel the focused peace of this pursuit, the scratch of a reed pen on a new scroll, the soft murmur of debate in Greek and Egyptian. Draw in that scholarly calm and release. The scale was breathtaking. Estimates whisper of 400,000, perhaps 700,000 scrolls. Every ship that docked in Alexandria's bustling harbor was searched not for contraband, but for books. Any scroll found was borrowed, copied by an army of scribes in the scriptorium, their hands flying across sheets made from the Nile's reeds, and the copy was given to the owner while the original entered the library's treasured collection. Think of the diversity, the complete works of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, the geometry of Euclid, the astronomy of Aristarchus, who dared to suggest the earth moved around the sun, the medical texts of Herophilus, the geography of Eratosthenes, and works from far beyond the Greek world, Babylonian astronomical diaries, Persian Zoroastrian texts, Hebrew scriptures, Indian treatises on mathematics and surgery. This was a living, breathing map of the known world's intellect. Imagine the texture of those scrolls, the variations in scripts, the beauty of illuminated diagrams of stars or human anatomy. Let your mind wander these endless shelves. Breathe in the scent of accumulated genius. Breathe out. At its heart, the library was more than a storehouse. It was a generator of new knowledge. Its scholars lived on site, dining together in a great hall, their conversations fueling discovery. Here, Callimachus, the poet, created the Pinakes, the first library catalog, a 120-volume masterpiece that organized the chaos of knowledge into genres and authors, a universe catalogued. Here, Archimedes may have visited and shared his theorems. The librarian Eratosthenes not only calculated the Earth's circumference with stunning accuracy, but also mapped it, and even attempted to fix the dates of literary and political history. It was a hive of intellectual synergy, where a comment on a line of poetry could spark a philosophical treatise, and a star chart could lead to a new theory of physics. Feel the vibrant, quiet hum of creation in this space, a different frequency from Lemuria's tonal harmonies, but no less profound. Draw in the inspiration, release the need to understand, simply be present in the possibility. Yet, like Lemuria, Alexandria's glory was shadowed by fragility. It existed in a world of political turmoil and human frailty. The first major blow, scholars say, came during Julius Caesar's Alexandrian War in 48 BCE. Besieged in the city, Caesar's forces set fire to the docks and the Egyptian fleet. The flames, fanned by the wind, are said to have spread and consumed a warehouse district near the harbor, possibly storing scrolls destined for or duplicated from the library. Imagine the tragic scene, not a deliberate annihilation, but a catastrophic accident in a conflict of power. Scrolls of priceless plays, histories, and scientific observations turning to ash, their unique contents lost forever to the hungry, indifferent flames. The loss was immense, a cauterization of memory. Sit with that loss for a moment, not with anguish, but with a gentle, accepting melancholy. Breathe in the scent of history, which is always part smoke. Breathe out.
The library, or what remained of it, persisted for centuries, a diminished but still potent symbol. It suffered from neglect, from the shifting priorities of Roman emperors, and from the rising tides of religious conflict. In the late 4th century CE, the Serapeum, a daughter temple library, was destroyed by a Christian mob led by Patriarch Theophilus, its contents scattered or burned. The final whispers of its end are obscure, lost in the sands of time. Perhaps a gradual decay as funding dried up, scrolls crumbled, and the great minds went elsewhere. The knowledge was not swallowed by the sea in a cataclysm, but dissipated like sand through fingers, scroll by scroll, idea by idea, into the silent forgetfulness of ages. Its demise was not a single dramatic plunge, but a long, slow fading of the light. Sense that slow fading, like the dimming of a lamp over centuries. Draw in, release, and let go. The parallels between our two lost worlds are themselves a meditation. Lemuria, a lost continent of primordial wisdom swallowed by the natural world in a moment of divine retribution. Alexandria, a lost library of compiled human knowledge fragmented by human conflict, accident, and the slow erosion of time. One speaks to us of nature's overwhelming power and the loss of instinctual connection. The other speaks of civilization's vulnerability and the fragility of our recorded memory. Both are ghosts that haunt our collective imagination, reminders of the impermanence of even the greatest achievements. Both represent a vanished plenitude, a fullness of knowing that we intuit once existed and now mourn, even if we never knew it. Contemplate this symmetry, the ocean's depth and the library's depth, both realms of profound loss. Breathe in the unifying theme of transience. Breathe out any attachment. In the quiet aftermath of these tales, consider what remains. From Lemuria, perhaps, we inherit a longing for harmony with unseen forces, a nostalgia for a golden age of psychic unity. Its legacy is in our myths, our fascination with the occult, and our dream of utopia. From Alexandria, we inherit the very model of the pursuit of knowledge, the dream of a universal library, a dream now resurrected in the digital cloud of our internet, another fragile, vast repository. The librarians of Alexandria are the ancestors of all scholars, and their catastrophic loss fuels our modern drive to preserve, to digitize, to back up. Feel the connection across millennia. Your own curiosity is a living fragment of both the Lemurian oracle and the Alexandrian scribe. Breathe in that lineage. Breathe out. As we verge on our pilgrimage's terminus, mull these twin chronicles of Lemuria and Alexandria, their echoes a duet across ages. They speak of consonance with the ether and the intellect, the hazards of overextension and conflict, and the beautiful, aching evanescence of all realms and all collections. In a sphere of incessant stir and information, they prompt us to cease, to inhale, to unearth repose in humility, and to appreciate the fragile threads of understanding we still hold. Conceivably, fragments of their combined aura endure, in the fortitude of coastal societies singing old songs, in the quiet dedication of an archivist preserving a decaying text, or the muted marvel of a stargazer connecting dots in the sky.
Now, let your awareness return gently to this room, to this moment. The echoes of lost continents and burnt libraries wane delicately, bestowing merely serenity. Your body is heavy, supported, your mind a calm lake reflecting only peace. The journey is complete. Appreciation for engaging in this soothing twofold pilgrimage. May your repose be abyssal and tranquil, your phantasms as expansive as the brine and as deep as the archives of time. Good night.